And we're turning fitness into function. We're going to go out with the old, no more training muscles, in with the new. We're going to train movements. See, our body wasn't designed to train one muscle at a time or exercise one muscle at a time. We're designed to work as an organism, use the whole body in an integrated way to help us move better, feel better, and work the way we're designed to. And the great thing about this, it's going to help our exercising and our workouts not only be more functional and get better results, but actually more fun. So instead of doing a traditional chest press where your back and shoulders and core are all stabilized for you, using a cable allows you to not only work the anterior muscles, but your posterior muscles as well. Your core and your legs have to do work as well. Again, integrating our body the way our body is designed to. Using one arm at a time is going to allow you to keep balance and strength between left and right side so you don't compensate as much. And again, using your full body to help doing a chest press. You get your chest, your shoulders, and your triceps along with your core and legs. Now let me show you a way to do it with two arms. So even a two-handed chest press can be more functional if I use my feet and my core and step into it. Also, the cable allows me to work my back and posterior muscles to slow down this motion as I go back and load to explode. Another big thing we can do to make this more functional is change the angles. Let one arm go higher than the other, turning your body just a little bit so we don't always have the same even press. And that's turning fitness into function. Or instead of doing traditional shoulder presses where you're sitting down, back rest for you, stabilizing your whole core, we actually want to make it more integrated and, again, more functional. So put you in a staggered stance where one foot is slightly forward from the other, hips go back, and as the hips go forward, you're going to load overhead and behind you just a little bit, alternating arms so you don't create leverage. So both arms are going to do the same amount of work. This is anterior to posterior. So going forward to back, right? And we're also going to do side to side. We're kind of reaching at a 45-degree angle as you reach out, and the hips are moving side to side with you. So the whole body's moving. Now you're going to bounce mini squat and rotate back as you're pressing with each arm. You can let your foot, your core, your legs help you through your shoulder presses. And then there's crossover press. So again, slight bouncing, let the hips work, core work, and that'll turn on your shoulders in all three planes of motion. And that's turning fitness into function. So instead of doing your traditional shoulder flies where you're sitting on a bench, again, core stabilized for you, back and shoulders are stabilized for you, or even your chest flies where, again, you're sitting down, keeping the core and back stabilized for you, where you're doing chest flies, we want to integrate everything. So we're going to show you a more functional way to do flies for your shoulders. So again, you can do them as a deadlift to a fly. So now I'm using my hamstrings, my foot and calf muscles, my core, and I'm actually able to lift a little bit heavier weight this way because I'm using an integrated method, so I build more strength. Alternate there. You can also do a lunge to a fly and go side to side. And then lastly, you can do a squat to a fly. So many different ways you can do your shoulder flies. Now let's do the chest fly. And this is a one-arm chest fly. It allows me to use my entire body, my foot, my hips, my core, and my arms to fire the pec muscle. So it's working in an integrated fashion. Again, by using one arm at a time, I don't create compensation. I train both left and right the same. You can also do this with two arms by grabbing both cables, but to make it functional, you're going to step into it using your core, your legs, to help stabilize the movement for you, and then cross it further, alternating which arm goes on top, so you get bigger range of motion at the shoulder and chest. And this is how you work more functionally and turn fitness into function. So instead of doing your traditional triceps and biceps, where in triceps we're hunching forward, pulling down on the rope here, and the elbows here, so we're kind of really only working 2 out of the 3 heads of the triceps. So we want to make sure it's different. With biceps, instead of sitting down, keeping your core and back stabilized for you, we want to show you a new, more functional way. So let's start out with triceps. With triceps, what I want to do is on the cable, you want to bring the pulley right about the same as shoulder height or somewhere near shoulder height. You're going to pull it over your head, To integrate it, you're basically going to take a step forward and then press. So by having my elbows over my head, I'm actually working all three heads of the triceps instead of just two. And then by using my feet and my core to stabilize and generate momentum, I can actually do more with my triceps, build more strength, more function, and actually really designed the way it's supposed to be because my feet, my core, and my scapula are turning on my triceps. I'll show you some functional biceps. So again, instead of sitting on a bench, we want to use our feet, our core, our scapula to turn on our biceps. So here's a deadlift, single leg deadlift to a bicep curl. I'm going to do the other foot now, but I'm going to change the angle to a hammer curl, which you could always do to increase function. We can also do lunges. We can do a side lunge and turn and rotate the bicep as we're doing the curl. So that's the third way we can do our arms. Using our legs here. Okay, lunging forward if you want. And then lastly, we'll show you some squats. I can go wide stance, squat and curl. I can go narrow stance, squat and curl. It's all about using the whole body as an integrated system to turn fitness into function. So instead of doing traditional squats and lunges, we want to show you a more functional way to do them. When it comes to squats, most people start with an Olympic lift. Their stance is in that parallel symmetrical stance, which doesn't really replicate what we do and how we function in real life. Most of the stuff that we do, whether we're getting in and out of a car, whether we're getting out of a chair, we're going to not do it in that symmetrical stance. We're going to do some form of different position there. The second thing we don't do is we don't really load things on our back much. So if we front load it, we'll make it much more functional. So let me give you an example. I could pick up a ball or weights or whatever you want to carry, and then I could, again, change my foot positions. I can go 1 foot forward or back. I can go neutral stance, I can go narrow, or I can go wide. I can go neutral, externally rotated, or internally rotated. So for example, here we go. We're going to go right foot forward. I'm going to go externally rotated, and I'm going to go a little bit wide. And I'm going to squat, holding that weight in front of me. So I'll feel the muscles in my legs very differently than if I go left foot forward, internally rotated, and narrow. Again, also a squat, working all my leg muscles and my core, arms and shoulders holding the weight. But now I'm really feeling very different. So you want more functional, more balanced legs. They're going to be stronger, have more vitality. That's the way you do it. Now I'll show you some lunges. So instead of doing your static, traditional lunges, there's a few different varieties we could do with lunges. We can change three-dimensional function of our upper body as we're lunging. So for example, if I step with my right, I can lean forward and then go overhead as I press. And just travel lunges doing this up and down the room. That's forward and backwards with the upper body. I can hold the weight overhead and I can lean and do side to side function as I'm doing my travel lunges. And then third plane of motion is rotation. So I can rotate as I'm stepping. Another great thing you can do with lunges is you can change the direction of your feet. So you can lunge forward, you can lunge to the side, and you can lunge rotation with all those different hand positions that we did. So there's no limit to what you can do to make it more fun, more functional, and that's how we turn fitness into function. All right, instead of doing our traditional planks where we just hold our body like a stiff plank board, we're going to make it more functional because the body is not designed to hold ourselves like a stiff plank board. You never see anybody walking around with a really tight core and nothing else in their body's moving. So what I want to teach is that if we can make our core move slowly and controlled through neutral, or if we could hold it neutral, move parts of our bodies, that's a much more functional way to do planks. So let me give you an example. The first one we're going to do is holding a plank, but now we can move our feet in all three planes of motion. I can go forward and backwards. I can go side to side. And I can do rotations. So you can alternate those as well. Next thing we'll do is move up the body, and we're going to use our pelvis and move our core through neutral. So you can breathe in and exhale, going forward and backwards through neutral, side to side through neutral, or rotations through neutral. And then lastly, we can use our arms. From this one, I actually have you standing in a position here where we bend our feet and drive our arms forward, our arms sideways, in the plank, and our arms in rotation. So make your planks more functional and turn your fitness into function. Instead of doing a traditional, boring cardio on a treadmill or life cycle or elliptical or stair climber, we can make it more functional by changing the angles, by changing our movement patterns into all three planes of motion. So let me show you a variety of different things that help turn your fitness into function with cardio. So I like to do high knees for people, kind of increase that range of motion. I like to do butt kickers to engage the hamstrings. So you could do these for any extended time that you want. You can just do standing rotation. Get the core to rotate. Skaters, where you're hopping side to side, is a great way to turn on the glutes in the lateral plane. You can do lateral shuffle, where you're shuffling from one side of the room to the other. And you can do karaokas, when you're opening up the hips, and just kind of going back and forth. Then you can also do skipping. Get those knees up, really build rhythms. There's dozens and dozens of ways to hit your cardio in a very functional and fit way. So that's how you turn fitness into function.